So we've spent a lot of time this semester talking about verbal communication, but today I want to cover a topic that's one of my favorites within the speech discipline, and that is nonverbal communication. How much of your day do you think is spent communicating in nonverbal methods? 10? 50? 90? Well, let's see. Would you believe that somewhere between 60 and 90% of our daily communication is nonverbal? And I don't think that once you think about it, that's not really surprising, because nonverbal communication has 6 functions. The first of those is repeating, emphasizing, and complimenting. So there are certain gestures that we use frequently in our day, maybe consciously or subconsciously, that fall into these 3 categories: repeating, emphasizing, and complimenting. The other component of nonverbal communication is that these can also play a part in contradicting, substituting, and regulating. And there are 5 different types of nonverbal gestures that I want to go over, and we'll talk about how each of those fit within these categories. The first of these, well, here are the 5 types: illustrators, emblems, affect displays, regulators, and adapters. And being a good communicator, we'll go for the first one, which is illustrators. Illustrators are useful for emphasizing, repeating, and complimenting. This is an example. When I use my fingers to tell you we're going to talk about 5 different things, and the first one, this nonverbal gesture of using one finger up, not only reinforces the word first, but it kind of gives you a signpost of where we're going for this. Emphasizing, repeating, so you didn't necessarily have to hear me say first, but you saw it when I showed you the number 1. So that's one example of illustrators. The second one is emblems. These are used to replace or to substitute. Can any of you think of an emblem that might be used in your daily life? How about stop? If someone raises their hand, that's an emblem because they're asking me to acknowledge them. And if I go like this, that tells you I'm not quite ready to hear you speak, but I acknowledge you, I see you, and I want you to know that I'm going to come back to you. So that's an example of an emblem. Or thumbs up. I'm telling you you've done a good job, and you don't even have to know this acknowledges that I heard you, and good job. So that's an example of emblem, is a thumbs up. The third is affect displays. These can be used to repeat or to emphasize or to compliment. This is how your facial gestures look. So if I'm happy and I give you a smile and I give you the emblem of thumbs up, then that tells you, 1, I'm pleased with you, and 2, you can see from my affect, from my face, what I'm really feeling. Another affect display is maybe you come into class and you've seen somebody with their arms crossed and their head down. So what are they telling you? They're telling you that they probably don't want you to come talk to them, or they could be telling you, yes, come talk to me and you can make this better. But with them non-verbally gesturing to you by their head down and maybe their arms are crossed, you know something's wrong. So you can start by saying, hey, is everything okay? So that's another example of a nonverbal gesture. And finally, regulators. Regulators emphasize and substitute, and they also regulate. Whenever I say, well, class is almost done, and you start to pack up, you're regulating. You're telling me you're ready to go. Or if you're talking to a friend and they check their watch, that's another way for them to tell you, oh, I really got to go. It's time to end this conversation. So those are regulator gestures. And I was wrong. Now we're finally to the last one, which is adapters. These are unconscious movements that usually make you feel better. Especially you see this in class. People who tap their feet or tap a pencil or click or play with their phone. These are all gestures that make them feel comfortable, release that energy. So those are the 5 gestures. Again, we'll recap. illustrators, emblems, affect display, regulators, and adapters. All are part of nonverbal communication.